Hello everyone. In this video I will be translating and summarizing the latest Urdu broadcast by Aftab Iqbal to make it accessible for our English-speaking audience. Let us go through the key developments and insights in Aftab Iqbal's words. Today's discussion will revolve around 5 to 7 key questions. These are questions that reach us from various sources: emails, focus groups, your comments, and even now, some friends raise questions during conversations, expecting instant or show-based answers. The questions I've selected today are all extremely current. Each could easily be the subject of a separate vlog, but we cannot afford that luxury given our time constraints. So we will try to cover them completely but concisely. Short, 2 to 3 minute comments on each. Let me narrate the questions first so you can get an idea and anticipate the topics we will explore. How close is Iran to acquiring nuclear weapons? That is, how long before it becomes a nuclear weapons state? This is a highly interesting and current issue, one that has triggered the entire debate on Iran and its nuclear program. If Iran conducts a nuclear test by taking advantage of current geopolitical conditions, what is the harm? I found this to be a very intelligent question. If Iran uses this opportunity, what is the problem? If there is a problem, we will discuss it. Is the United States capable of destroying Iran's nuclear assets? On the surface, people believe it is, as the US is often viewed as all-powerful, able to do anything. How will the US get involved in this conflict? And if it does, what will be the consequences? This is a general topic we have touched on recently, including yesterday, regarding Iran's missile, Gill. What is it? We have heard it was launched. We will discuss this as well. What impact does General Asim Munir's meeting with Donald Trump have on Pakistan-China relations? This directly concerns us, which makes it even more interesting. Now, let us go through these one by one with brief analytical commentary. How close is Iran to becoming a nuclear weapons state? The majority opinion is that Iran is very close. I had previously indicated that Iran is this close to becoming a nuclear weapons state. However, the International Atomic Energy Agency, which oversees nuclear issues globally, believes Iran is still far away. Personally, I'm convinced Iran is very close. If it wanted to, it could conduct a nuclear test. I cannot say with absolute certainty, but there was a hot rumor a few days ago, circulated as news, that the recent earthquakes in Karachi and Balochistan were connected to a nuclear test. Immediately after that, a high-level test was supposedly conducted. Coincidentally, on that same day, Donald Trump left the G7 meeting and rushed back home. He was reportedly summoned urgently and had to consult and issue some orders. Of course, such rumors are always circulating. As many mouths, as many opinions. I cannot believe it without evidence, but I am convinced that Iran is this close. End of story. Can Iran take advantage of the situation and conduct a nuclear test? Yes, it can. Who can stop it? If it has the capability, no one can stop it. It could do so just as Pakistan benefited from the Afghan war to speed up and achieve its nuclear goals. During the period from 1982 to 1986, when Pakistan was playing a key role in the Afghan war, it was able to enrich uranium. In October 1986, Pakistan announced it had attained nuclear capability. I personally covered that news and had discussed it with General Zia-ul-Haq. That information was then published the next day. Pakistan goes nuclear. But Pakistan and Iran's situations are different. Pakistan was fighting on behalf of the West and America, a frontline state. Iran, on the other hand, is a challenger, not a custodian. If Iran conducts a nuclear test today, it will ruin all its efforts. Benjamin Netanyahu's actions would become justified. Iran's image would change from a defender to an offender, from victim to usurper. It would mean Iran had weapons of mass destruction all along, secretly pursuing them while saying otherwise. So Iran does not need to test now. Its position is strong. In a cricketing analogy, the current equation is like Australia versus Zimbabwe, very uneven. But war is unpredictable. Things can turn quickly. Iran does not have many allies. Apart from the Houthis, no one truly stands with Iran. This is a bitter reality the Muslim world must accept. Today, Iran is conducting its affairs well. It has no need to test anything. However, if the US aggressively intervenes, Iran might consider it. But I do not think that situation will arise. The crux of this discussion is, Iran should absolutely not conduct a nuclear test right now, even if it can, because it would weaken its case and strengthen Netanyahu's. Can the US destroy Iran's nuclear assets? As I said before, if you view the US as a divine power, then yes, it can do anything. But that is mythology, not reality. Time has changed. Just as our rulers live in the 1980s and 90s, pro-American elements are stuck in the 60s, 70s and 80s. So okay, even if America puts in full effort, it still cannot destroy Iran's assets. Why? Because bunker busters, their most advanced weapons, can reach only 200 feet underground. Iran's facilities are built half a kilometre, 500 meters underground. So what can a poor bunker buster do? They talk about using tactical nuclear weapons, small, limited-yield thermonuclear devices, but I do not think the world would allow that, nor would they get away with it. A side note here, Vladimir Putin gave an interesting speech yesterday. He said Iran's weapons factories are fully operational, with Russian engineers and experts working there under contract. He also hinted that Russian citizens are present in the region. Any military adventure must take this into account, or it could cause significant problems. Now, the pro-American segment in our own government, establishment, media and society might ask, why would not America act? First, logically, America has depleted much of its conventional weaponry. They are lamenting that they have given almost everything to Zelensky, missiles, air defense systems, only keeping a few expensive items for their own defense. Secondly, the US economy is under massive strain, $37 trillion in debt. It is in no position to afford a war. Experts are warning of capital flight, the next big danger after bank runs. Bloomberg reports that panic is rising. A war will only worsen this. No one is willing to loan the US money for war. Even their usual lenders are themselves in crisis. So understand this. The image of America you have in your mind is outdated, disconnected from historical and economic realities. People do not want to accept the truth even when they know it. That is a tragedy. I was having a conversation, but reaching this age and making such a confession, this is no great feat. Whatever damage was to be done by you, or whatever had to happen at your hands, has already happened. This is just a small link in that same chain, and even that cannot be ignored. In fact, it is not small. Perhaps it is the biggest. What are the internal conditions of America? Let us look at its politics and economy. We are already discussing its economy. Look at it again. It is a house divided. Exactly the same map you see now as in the days of the Civil War. When I say this, people respond, "Sir, you are being too extreme, too radical." Like, how can you compare this to a civil war? But this is the same America, the one you saw fighting the Civil War in 1860. They even assassinated their president, Abraham Lincoln, I believe, in 1865. He was shot in a theater by an actor. Now, even today in America, you see a new spectacle every other day. I have detailed this before. There are more gun licenses than there are people. If the population is around 340 million, there are over 400 million gun licenses in America. I have also stated, and I still stand by it, that if you look into the statistics of war veterans, you will see that 19 suicides happen every day. This is also America. Elected representatives are getting arrested, governors are receiving threats of being arrested. A sitting United States senator was shot, his wife was shot, and she is struggling between life and death. Another female legislator and her husband were shot and killed. All of this is happening in America. And I do not want to talk about it every day, but it is a fact. Keep that in perspective when forming your opinions. That was a different era. You may recall I mentioned a few days ago the world in 1967 was different. In 1973 it was different. Time has changed a lot. This is 2025, my brother. If this is a war of attrition, then Iran is clearly superior. Iran has weapons and supplies for the coming months, while Netanyahu has barely 10 days' worth, or maybe even less. That is why he is crying out so loudly. Now, coming to the next question, the Iranian missile. You pronounce it sigil, not sigil. It is an Arabic word, sigil, if you read the Quranic Surah Fil, which mentions the people with elephants, Abrazami. The small birds, Ababil, dropped stones of baked clay, sigil, do you understand? And how destructive it was, subhanallah. The things it hit became like chewed up straw. That is why I always say, if you have seen a Hellfire missile mounted on a drone, this Ababil, the whole swarm of little birds, could possibly be drones. The stones in their beaks, those baked clay pebbles, they seem small, like something a potter would make, but they are incredibly destructive. Sigil is a similarly destructive, highly advanced weapon. I was surprised. Actually, I do not know which version is correct. One Indian TV channel called it a very powerful, heavyweight juggernaut-type missile with a speed of Mach 4, that is, 4 times the speed of sound. But Wikipedia does not say 4 or even 14. It lists Mach 4 to 5, so it could be a speculative stretch. The person who said Mach 14 may have been exaggerating, but I personally believe it is closer to 14 times the speed of sound. So, Mach 14, a ballistic missile that breaks into 2 stages, skims the outer surface, atmosphere, then descends in a dangerous trajectory. And it has already been used a few days ago. Honestly, Iran did not even need to use it on Israel. One wonders, why did Iran overkill like this? Things were already going well with smaller hypersonic missiles, drones and ballistic missiles. Then why Gill? Gill is cutting-edge tech. I believe it carried a message, not for Tel Aviv but for Washington, D.C., if you try to take part in this so-called humanitarian mission and try to bury us under explosives. Remember, we are not wearing bangles either. We will retaliate and we will resist to the end. That was the message in the Gill. All right, let us wind this up and move on to the last question, which is highly relevant to us, so perhaps that is why we are more interested. What impact could General Asim Munir's meeting with Trump have on our relations with China? Before I get into that, I want to say a few things. Countless people are talking about this meeting. Most sensible cyber analysts and experts believe that if there had been a wise person around our field marshal to advise him, they would have said this is not the time, even if it was related to cryptocurrency or minerals. You should not have gone at this sensitive moment, because a perception will be created, and in our region, perception is already built in. You do not even have to try hard. But since you did go, and since your affiliations are with that club that still sees America the same way and Trump as a kind of Caesar, then fine, good for you. But you should not have gone. It is extremely damaging for you and for the country. And in the coming days, you will realize this. I will not go into details of what Trump may have said to the general, maybe something like, "You have to support us." Of course, if you have gone and met him and eaten with him, it means the friend, China, is now a friend out of necessity, and the one you just dined with is the preferred one. He did not need to ask for bases from you. This kind of thing can be done over a phone call. We have done it before. Perhaps they discussed Iran. If it was about Iran, my guess is that it was in the context of a post-regime change era. I do not believe Trump talks specifics much, but if he did, maybe he said, "Will you support us fully when the regime changes?" To which the general might have replied, "Sir, if you change the regime, then every child in Pakistan will be ready to support you." No problem at all, be assured. This is just my guess. I was not there. I did not hear anything. But I believe Field Marshal Sahib is capable of saying such things. In either case, it is not something that benefits us. Now finally, coming to the real question, what impact could this have on Pakistan-China relations? Well, no matter how strong, beautiful or excellent Pakistan-China relations are, this one sentence, this meeting, has created an atmosphere of distrust. Whether you admit it or not, China, just like Russia, is watching you from the corner of its eye, wondering, what are you up to? The most worrisome part, which many people may have missed, is this. The meeting was completely private. If the State Department had been involved, or if any proper delegates had been there, then it could be called a formal meeting. If there had been note-takers, interpreters, official protocol, it would have made sense. But that was not the case. There were whispers, half-conversations. It could not all have been about cryptocurrency, although Trump is capable of that, especially if he is expecting some goods to come through. But meetings like this always give off bad optics. That damage is already done. And yes, it has undoubtedly raised suspicions. Now, how those suspicions are to be addressed, whether Field Marshal Sahib does it himself or sends someone, only time will tell. That wraps up our translation of Aftab Iqbal's video. I hope this English version helped you understand his message better. Please like, share and subscribe to Awami Lens to help our community grow. Do not forget to leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this effort.